Hello everyone, my name is El Parnaso and in today's video I'm gonna show you how Mulcharmy Fuwalos change Yu-Gi-Oh design forever. In order to do so, I'm gonna give you all the way back to whenever this card was printed and then make an analysis of almost all the meta decks that were released after this card. So we need to go all the way back to 2024 with the context of one of the best engines this game ever saw, the Fiensmith engine. Obviously, as you can see, this says Fiensmith in the name, so let's talk about it. The idea of the Fiensmith back in 2024 was more of an splashable engine than it is even today. And the shit that was allowed to do was even more nasty for that time that we are doing today with the Fiensmiths. The problem is the same as we can see in today's Fiensmiths variants, and is that they need a lot of pre-work from the extra deck in order to work. They need to use a lot of it and at least one special summon from the deck, from the main deck, I mean. Therefore, the Mulcharmy Fuwalos was an ideal way of Konami to go against these popular cards that were printed just the set before, the Engravers, the Track, the Requiems, in a way that you can actually counter it with actual hand traps, which is something that people were complaining back when Fiensmith releases. Why my hand traps are not doing nothing? Well, now you have an actual hand trap that can do it. So you can see how Mulcharmy Fuwaros is first a phenomenon of their time and a needed cure to try to deal with an splashable engine such as the Fiensmith, because the Fuwa was released literally the set after the Fiensmith cards. So you can see how Konami is doing this obviously on purpose. They are making you buy the Fiensmith cards because they are the best, and just a few months later they are making you buy the Mulcharmy Fuwalos because how powerful the Fiensmith cards and Fiensmith variants are. But however, this creates such a big consequence when it comes to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And it is that all the future decks needs to play around the Mulcharmy Fuwalos. And how can you play against a Disque punishing you through your best ways to special summon monsters in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! The main deck and the extra deck? Well, let's see how Konami decided to make their own approach to respect the Fuwa in their future card designs. Because as you can see, there is a huge gap when it comes to combo decks that can respect the Fuwa and combo decks that were printed before the Fuwa and therefore can basically not respect it, because that is how Konami intended their card design to be. Fuwa will check the decks from the past and the decks from the future will most likely check the Fuwa in order for you to keep buying and keep playing constantly, right? Just as this eternal change of marketing of Yu-Gi-Oh! That we've been into for over 20 years. So that's fine. Let's go now directly for the meta decks that were after the Fiensmith times. So we go all the way back to the end of 2024 with, that's right, the Rizal cards. Yeah, there are Malice interactions too, but I think that the Rizal encapsulates the better that idea, because most of the time, if you get Fuwa when you were playing pure Rizal back in the day, you are just going to give him one draw, because the Rizal were specialized in having a lot of extenders via special summoning from the hand. This is just a first big step when it comes to respect the Mulcharmy Fuwalos, because it means that most of your extension will not give your opponent any draw under the Fuwa. Unlike the Fiensmith cards that you need to go to the moon, then to the link 1, then special summon the Engraver from deck, then use the fusion, then maybe a 3, blah, blah. Like, you see my point, right? Instead, what does the Rizal does? Special summon a bunch from the hand, get card advantage, and then just giving you one draw, they leave a Rizal detonator on the field. And this is why it's very important to understand why Rizal detonator works like it did back in the day. Why is not once per turn to pop? Why it protect itself? Why is only asking for 2 Rizal monsters instead of more to make it difficult to summon? Because this card is made directly to counter and respect the Mulcharmy Fuwalos in new future meta decks. because the Mulcharmi Fuwalos started to make a new tendency that you can start to see in Rizal Detonator. The special summons and that you can't not see in Fiesmi times. And it is that the special summon from the extra deck is becoming a lot more valuable. Every summon from the extra deck will count a lot more now that this card exists in the meta, and it is one of the most popular cards in the meta, right? Therefore, you need to make your special summons from the extra deck as powerful and valuable as you can. And that is why you can see how cards like Detonator started to get printed after Mulcharmi Fuwaros. And what do I mean by that? I mean boss monsters that can be easily accessed by giving just one draw or maximum of two, that allows to have at least the main interactions that your engine wanted to left. Yes, if you get Fuwa, you most likely won't go for the Rizal Cross, the Field Spell, and the Detonator, and the Duo Drive, and any other things, right? But the main disruption of your deck is Rizal Detonator, and you can still make it under the Fuwa, just giving them one draw. So you can see how the design is started to change, right? And let's see how this design is continuing, because this will only get even stronger. So let's say bye to Detonator. We go all the way back to the middle of 2025, when this new meta releases. Obviously, I'm talking about, I think the set was Justice Hunters, because I'm talking about Dracotail, I'm talking about the Canine, and I'm talking about the Yumi. What I just told you about the Rizal Detonator and the Rizal logic to go against the Mulcharmi Fuwalos, it was only put into a new boost when it comes to these new engines, because now, as you can see, all of these three engines has ways to leave a really big, tough, dealable boss monster on the field with just one special summon from the extra deck, right? Like the Yamis, just with one summon of the extra deck, gives you the Snatchy, and the Snatchy is all your Yami circulation, right? Kinda incomplete, but still your Yami circulation. The same as Detonator is your Rizal circulation, incomplete, but Rizal circulation nonetheless, right? The same with the Canines. The Canines even will punish you even more against the Fuwa, because they can sometimes don't give you any draws. They can just make the Izuna, they can just dump the Lupis, and then they will make XYZ on your turn. Therefore, not giving you any draws and still having the disruption of the Reaper. Or they can give you that draw and have more interruptions than the draw that you give, because the Reaper will add and set something. So you can see how these decks not only respects Fuwa, but punish Fuwa a lot more than before. Because, for example, in Yami, the Detonator is not recovery of your engine, as it is here. You can see how the example with the 5 mana is also working, because if you wait for Fuwa to not using on the main phase, they can use normal Mululu, and if you try to use Fuwa now, they can just change the Mululu, and now you just have no draws, and they have all their engine. They have 2 Dracotail traps, they have the 5 mana again in their hand. So you can see how these designs are respecting the Fuwa a lot more than any deck before, to the point that the Fuwa can be seen just not as good of a hand trap in comparison to other ones that can actually resolve or can actually stop your opponent from playing. So what I wanted to share in this video is that Mulcharmi Fuwalos is now just a normal hand trap, just like it was with I don't know, like Infinite Impermanence when it came out. It was completely broken, right? But now it's just another hand trap. The same with Effect Veiler when it came out. Yeah, Effect Veiler was the only hand trap that could stop Substitute. But now, Effect Veiler is just another hand trap. So this is what I wanted to show you when it comes to the Mulcharmi. Please stop about it, because we'll live time that because of decks and because of the new evolution of how the decks are going to work, this maybe won't be in some main decks anymore. Because that's how Yu-Gi-Oh works, and that's the beauty of it. The intellectual challenge keeps moving forward, because now we have a new evolution of respecting the Fuwa, and it's boss monsters that can make plays for the development of your engine while being disruptions at the same time, as you can see by the elf notes. If you want me to go deeper on this and how Mulcharmy Fuwalos got nerfed in this next meta after Justice Hunters with decks like Elf Note and Kiltoon, leave a like, leave a subscription, leave a comment, and I'll do it. So thank you. I'll see you another time.